What I want to share with you today then is great content ideas that you can use without feeling salesy, without feeling preachy, without feeling like a know-it-all. And so I think one of the major things that we can fall into and think kind of two categories, so to speak, that I saw, and these are obviously very broad terms, but this kind of old way of getting your message across, and then what I would consider as the new way in getting your message across as well. And so the old way, I'm going to give you a couple of phrases here. So the first one is, I made money, for example. Now, it's not very often that you would hopefully go online and people just say, hey, everybody, I've made loads of money. Take a look at me. Aren't I great? But that can sometimes feel like the underlying message when people are flashing up all these all these bank statements and money in their account and all this kind of stuff, right? Which has a time and a place, but when done right. And then the second one might be, for example, I lost weight. So aren't I great? Look at me, I lost weight. Okay, which again, fantastic achievement. But if it's just, hey, I did this, I lost weight, I made loads of money, I'm all this kind of stuff, then we might lose our audience. And then the third one would be something like, I'm feeling sad. Okay. Now, again, these are very broad terms, of course, but you'll notice that I've picked what I would say as being the three main niches, the three main spaces of wealth, health, and happiness or relationships, right? And so still today, when you go online, and not just Instagram, but every platform really, we can see, you can identify people who it feels like it's being a bit braggy, it's being a bit kind of arrogant in a way. And again, I don't think it's intended that way, but sometimes it can come across that way, which is, hey, everybody, look at me, I've made loads of money, okay? Or the second way, hey, everybody, I'm losing weight again, isn't this great? And, they're posting pictures of their fitness journey online where actually they teach people how to invest in property. It's like, why are you showing me yourself in the gym when you invest in property? And anyway, lots of confusion there. And then the other one, which is, maybe something's happened at work or something in a relationship, it's, hey, I'm feeling sad, right? And I think one of the major things that I saw, not just today, but come back to again and again, is how do we make that relevant for the audience? So it's not just me, it's not just social media, me, the old way being social media, so to speak. And how do we make this about our audience? So instead of it being the big me, the big I am, it becomes social Udia, which I know is a bit of a, weird phrase, but social media, just thinking of it that way immediately thinks, okay, well, how do I make this relevant for my audience? How do I make this relevant for other people? So rather than I made money, what about a phrase like, here's 3 simple tips to make your first sale on Instagram this week? So the transition there, as you can hopefully see, is rather than me saying, hey, everybody, here's how I made $500 today, or here's how I made $1,000 last week, or whatever it might be, or $10 last week, or $10,000 last week. Here's 3 simple tips to make your first sale on Instagram this week. Hi, my name's Jake Davey. Last week, I generated $27 in online sales with Instagram, and here's the 3 steps that I did to achieve that. Right? Do you see the immediate switch? So the first part, the hook, is for somebody else. It's not for me, it's for somebody else. But then I give the evidence, or I give the credibility in the second part of the sentence. So the first one is, I made money, take a look at this, look at my bank account, woo, look at my new watch, look at my new car, look at my new holiday, look at my new girlfriends, whatever it might be. Which again, you will see from time to time on social media. And then the opposite being, here's 3 simple tips to make your first sale on Instagram this week in less than 10 minutes a day, or in less than 30 minutes a day. Hi, my name is, and credibility line. Yeah. So you give it to somebody else. Here's why I'm credible. Let's get into the information. Really, really, really simple framing. Yeah. Now, if you're in the weight loss space, even broadly, then rather than I lost weight, then it could be something like 5 foods you must eat if you want to lose, or must avoid. It's probably a bit easier, isn't it? Must avoid if you want a 6-pack, or if you want to lose. Let's just keep it real simple. 6-pack. Okay. Now, again, not everybody's going for a 6-pack. I get it, but certain niches, certain people, you can change those relevant for your specific audience. So 5 foods that you must avoid if you want a 6-pack. Hi, my name's Jake Davey, and I've been a fitness trainer, a fitness coach for 15 years, and I specialize in helping men in their 40s lose 20 pounds in 30 days. Okay, I don't know if that's healthy or not, but again, you see the switch there. For rather than, hey, everybody, I lost weight, look at me, this is before, this is after, don't I look great? Woo, go me. Then it's more about the audience. And we're talking about here's 5 different foods, here's 3 different exercises, here's one big change you can make in your morning routine. And then it switches back to credibility piece. This is who I am, and this is why you should listen to me. And then you go into the content and the information. Just type in number 1 in the chat box if this is making sense. You can just see that slight reframe. And the funny thing is, I don't imagine anybody here, I really don't. I don't imagine anybody here is going on and saying these things. I really don't. Okay? But I do think that the reason I touch upon these are still the biggest areas that people want more information on: how to get how to get wealthier, how to get healthier, and how to be happier, right? And so even if these are broad areas and you slot into one kind of tiny space within these niches, that's all good because you still use exactly the same thing. Okay, cool, lots of ones, which is great. And then the third one, I'm feeling sad. So again, kind of in the personal growth, personal development space, I'm feeling sad. Again, people will take to social media and share this type of thing, and some people do it more frequently than others. Some people build their entire brands on that, and that's okay. But rather than doing that, we could switch it around. It might be something like, here's the secret for self-care habits I have or I use when I'm feeling down. Okay, it's not a perfect sentence, really. I don't know that that's the best English ever. But just to kind of illustrate the point is that, right, I'm feeling sad. Well, rather than it being about me, how do we make it about you? How do we make this less about me, more about you, dear, social you, dear? So here's the secret four-step or the 4 self-care habits that I use when I'm feeling down. Journaling, having a bath and listening to Luther Vandross. I don't know, going for a walk and then walking the dog, for example, or going for a walk with the dog and then seeing friends or chatting with friends on the phone. Any of those different things, which again is infinitely more useful now for your audience because you've taken it from just about me to something that's really, really valuable for them. That one switch alone, genuinely, I believe that one switch alone will have really, really, really helpful impact on your, not just content going forward, but just how we think about the type of content we see. And I genuinely feel that when I speak to people about their content, one of the biggest things that they say is, I don't want to feel like an imposter, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But it's also, I just don't want to feel like I'm bragging or just like I'm arrogant and such, because we only get a few chances to make this impression and make a really good impression with our audience. So the frame being, it's the hook, which is benefit for you. And then it's credibility, why you should listen to me. And then it's the information, and that might be in steps, it might be bullet points, it might be a list, it might be specific actions, or it might just be one thing. And then it goes into the call to action. Okay, so hook. Let's just give you an example. Here's 3 simple tips to make your first sale on Instagram this week in under 30 minutes a day. Okay, that's the hook. Yeah. Credibility. Hi, my name is, and in the last 2 years, I've showed people how they can earn X amount of money on Instagram without ever showing their face, or without ever having to record themselves on camera, or without being an influencer, etc. Right? Information. So step number 1, you do this, that, and the other. Step number 2, you do A, B, C, and step number 3, you do X, Y, Z. Yeah. And then call to action. If you want to get my really cool thing, so that you can do this as well, comment the word sale below, and I will send over my checklist, or I'll send over my training, or I'll send over the information that you need. Yeah, like the simplest, genuinely, like the simplest structure that you could possibly use, and it all comes from just that one switch from social media to social media. Even if you, I'm going to put that in the chat box because I genuinely believe that one thing alone, when you just sit down and think about how am I going to, create my content, or how do I structure my content, or what might be the most useful way, I genuinely believe that one thing alone, if you just structured all your content into those 4 things, when you're getting more consistent and more comfortable being consistent, that will have a massive, massive impact. It really, really will. I'm going to give you one additional thing, and this is not intended to to counter what we've just talked about, because that will be very silly, but it's as an alternative to what we've just talked about, or maybe as an addition to what we've just talked about. So I'm going to park the social media, social media that we've just talked about there, that switch from it being all about me to all about you, my audience, or the audience, and the framework that we just shared for that, which is the hook, credibility, the information or the meat of the content, and then your call to action. But I also want to share with you now a simple switch that I think can defeat that imposter syndrome. And I say this a little bit tongue in cheek, because I'm not claiming to be the person that can break through everybody's imposter syndrome in one day or 1 second or one training. Absolutely not. But it's just another reframe that I think is really, really helpful. And again, I come back to the content that I was scrolling through when I looked earlier today on the platform, and there's a lot of how-to, right? And admittedly, I've just used a how-to example in the section before, right? But when we say how-to, here's how-to, here's how you can grow your Instagram. Here's how you can make your next $10,000 online. Here's how you can lose 5 pounds in 30 days. Here's how you can, here's how to. And again, there's that slight danger that it feels a little bit preachy, right? And I think sometimes this is where people feel uncomfortable, because there's this like, I've kind of done the thing, but I don't feel like I'm qualified to tell people about the thing. Like, they really going to listen to me? There's people with really big followers and big audiences that are already doing this. Why should they listen to me? And so the simple switch, the really, really, really simple switch that I think changes all of this is how I, yeah? And I think as soon as you go from how to and change it to how I, then it becomes a lot more, it becomes undeniable in a way. People can't argue with the thing that you have done, right? And the reality is, and I've thought about this a lot when obviously we teach people around growing their audience on Instagram and such, and I grew my own Instagram, and other people have grown their Instagram accounts in different ways, and that's great. And I've grown my account or accounts that we worked on in specific ways, and those, like, that's, some people say, oh, well, that's not the right way to do it, or you shouldn't do it that way, and you know, there's always going to be people that agree and people that disagree. But or how you made your first $10,000, or how we made our first. There's a video that I have on Instagram, which I might even go and find for you right now. How we made our first $100,000 in sales in 8 months, right? And in fact, that's probably a good example. It's better to show rather than tell. Here it is. There you go. 8 months to. There you go. It took me 8 months to make my first $100,000 on Instagram, right? Now, the reason I'm sharing this is that the way that I did that is probably different. There's probably a million ways that you can make, and probably more than a million ways that you can make your first $100,000 or first $10,000 or first $1,000 or even first sale on Instagram. I'm sure there's many, many, many ways. But rather than saying, here's how you should do it, okay, here's how you have to do it. You have to post 5 times a day. You have to follow up with every single person. You've got to dance on camera. You've got to then get people onto a phone call, or you've got to drive and visit their house or fly to them and then, you know, offer them your program. That's nonsense, because there's so many different ways. You only need to find one other person that has done it in a different way, and then it's no longer the case. All right. If you say, well, there's only one way that you can make sales on Instagram, and then somebody shows a different way, then it immediately unvalidates, if that's the right word, you're the first person who's saying that. So rather than how to, if we change this to how I, that then becomes undeniable. It's like it's completely factual, assuming obviously that you are telling your story, but it's completely factual because that's exactly how you did it, right? And the cool thing is that for some people that will make a whole lot of sense. For other people it won't, and it won't be the right pathway for them, and that's okay. But for some people, for a number of people, for your ideal audience, it will be the thing that they need to hear so that they can move forward, and it gives you the credibility. And it's amazing how when you make that one switch from how to, and it feels like, I feel a bit icky because I'm telling people what to do, to how you can say it with total confidence. I can say with total confidence the routes that we did to the first sale on Instagram, the first 1K, the first 10K, the first 100K, the first million. Because we did it. It's just the way that we did it, right? And it's the same with everybody here. If you do this as an artist, or if you do this as I'm looking down the list as a health coach, or as a trader, or as a life coach, for example, or as managing people's accounts and such, and finance. all of those are completely personal to you and they're totally undeniable. And I think that's a really, really nice frame that then allows you to move away from it feeling like imposter syndrome to just telling the story exactly how you did it and just being open. Look, this is what worked for me. It might not work for everybody, but if you follow the steps that I did, you may get similar results, you may get a similar outcome, you might not, but this is exactly how I did it. I'm going to break it down really simply so that, if you'd like more information, then you can follow it and hopefully you can do the same.
Hey, how are you doing? Jake here. So thanks so much for joining us for this video. Look, if it's been helpful, useful at all, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're literally just getting started on the channel, and so I'd love for this to be shared with more people, especially if you found it useful. If you do want more information, we talk about the training in there in the free masterclass. You're welcome to take a look at that as well. You'll find the information for that in the description below. Clickable link, go ahead, register completely for free. And if it's for you, then I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.